92% of population living in urban area and industrial cities. They protect three different type of biological diversity, plant and animals, agricultural diversity, cultural diversity comprising of language, knowledge and practices. But it is very unfortunate, a very little attention is given to examine the protocols included in the framework of biocultural diversity of these primitive communities of India. Many international enactments have been drafted and implemented. One of them important is Convention of Biological Diversity, signed in 1992 at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. That emphasizes these following protocols: sustainable use of natural resources, conservation of biodiversity, access to natural resources, benefit sharing mechanism, addressing the needs of future generation, and protection of this planet. These components have been incorporated in micro-level model of biodiversity conservation practiced by these two communities since time immemorial. I need not repeat again that India is heartland of biocultural heritage of the world. India is one of the 17 mega diverse countries of the world. It is one of the 6 top countries of the world in terms of biocultural richness. It occupies 2.5% of world's landscape, accommodate 10 biogeographical zones. India is very famous and has grabbed international accreditation, appreciation for adding 3 lakhs forest every year through afforestation. As regards the species, India accommodates 7.8% of recorded species of the world, which accounts for 45,500 plants and 91,000 animals. This presentation is about the traditional natural resource management practice of 2 tribes of Bastar. Bastar region is famous for the world. Bastar region lies in Deccan biogeographical zone, and their traditional mode of biodiversity conservation adopts all principles of sustainability and sustainable use of natural resources within the framework of biocultural heritage. Next. These 2 tribes are best example of sustainable communities of the world, and they are living in Chhattisgarh. Chhattisgarh is a new state. It lies within Deccan biogeographical zone. Chhattisgarh is located in central India. It has been formed on 1st November 2000. It is 10 years old state, but it covers 44% of forest, highest in India, and it accommodates 10% of tribal population of India and 31.76% of population of the state are tribal. It possesses rich biodiversity resources as well as unique cultural heritage of the country. It is very famous. Next. I will talk you about these 2 aboriginal communities, Gond and Halba. They are most colorful communities who have preserved not less than 40,000 paddy species in Deccan biogeographical zone. these people, they are having their own autonomy. They are the bright example of sustainable communities of the world. They maintain harmonious relationship with nature, and they have the message to the world how harmonious relationship with nature and supernatural world and biological resources can be maintained through protocols of biocultural heritage and enforcement of customary rules. Okay, next. Bastar region is world famous. It is part of a large ecosystem, locally known as Dandagaran, and 4 major tribes live there. As I told you, it is a reservoir of 40,000 rice varieties. The scientists all over the world, they visit Bastar to conduct research on this rice variety, and they have some millets which are used as best food supplement for curing diabetes. Their customary laws and traditional practices have promoted sustenance of these genetic diversities in the region. They enforce customary law and uphold very vast traditional knowledge relating to use of medicinal plants and forest. I will now talk about, this is the model of biocultural heritage. This is a indigenous coping system. This system describes how functional and structural relationship is maintained with nature and supernatural world. They believe tangible and intangible resources are gift of supernatural world. All landscapes, different landscape, forest, mountains, agriculture field, trees, they are been inhabited by 1 or 2 supernatural entities, and they believe the supernatural world has gifted rain and seeds to natural world, which consists of biological diversity and agricultural diversity. These are very functional structural relationship, and the knowledge is utilized for exploiting natural world for survival of mankind and sustainable use of natural resources. The use of natural resources has stimulated evolvement of a set of customary rules, a set of social, biological, spiritual values to maintain a harmonious relationship and interaction within these 3 worlds. Their cosmovision is very important. Their world view shapes their behavior and practices, indigenous practices. They celebrate different festivals, rituals, and to avail the grace of supernatural forces. They believe deviation of this relationship will lead to breakage of their safety net, will lead to structural violence, will lead to emergence of epidemics, droughts, natural calamities. That's why they have a set of rules for corrective measures. Next. They follow certain guiding principles. These guiding principles are 3 principles for enforcement of customary rules. First, the principle of reciprocity, the principle of equilibrium, and the principle of duality. Principle of reciprocity emphasizes that the seeds and knowledge should be exchanged with other communities and with in equal amount. Knowledge for knowledge, seed for seeds, labor for labor. In Bastar region, there is a very popular festival organized in month of June, that is known as Ekta. And this is the festival of soil, festival of sowing. The villagers from different 50 villages, they gather as a sacred place, and they bring with them the seeds of millets, paddy, vegetables, cash crops, and the farmers exchange equal quantity of seeds for another variety of seeds. With the seeds, the knowledge of cultivation, harvesting, preserving, it transplanted and disseminated. These practices ensures conservation of genetic diversity as well as benefit sharing mechanism within the community. This also stimulate peaceful coexistence among different communities. Next. The principle of equilibrium. This is an important guiding principle. They believe there must be balance, equilibrium between demand and supply side of use of natural resources. A person who harvests one tree is to plant 5 trees to maintain balance within the ecosystem. Otherwise, he will be penalized. They maintain utmost secrecy of the habitats. This is one of the rules, maintain equilibrium, so that the outsiders should not have access to the habitat for over-exploitation. And they maintain a very strong relationship by eco-health and community health. There are set of rules to maintain that, and they believe the cultural diversity need to be equated with biodiversity. Homogeneity in biodiversity, homogeneity in culture is a dangerous thing, is a threat to the planet. This need to be maintained. So as a practice, they perform various rituals, ceremonies, festivals to maintain equation, have grace of supernatural process, to have good crop, good rain, and prevent natural calamities. Principle of duality is a concept which they believe that all tangible and intangible resources have strong functional relation. They classify different resources as male and female, tangible and intangible, biodiversity versus cultural diversity. They believe water is a male resource which fertilizes soil, which is female, for good harvest and sustenance of genetic diversity. Knowledge as intangible resources is applied to explore tangible resources, natural resources, for survival and sustenance of mankind. These components are diametrically opposite, but they have strong functional interrelation and interdependence on each other to support life system in this earth. The customary law of biodiversity are implemented by customary institutions. For example, Sacred Groves is a customary institution that enforce various customary laws to protect sacred trees, sacred mountain, sacred river, sacred landscape. The protection and preservation of sacred trees and sacred mountain is very essential to promote conservation, in situ conservation of plants. Next. I have already discussed with you, there are different sets of values: cultural values, social values, and spiritual values. These values are safeguarded, honored through different ceremony festivals to sharing of knowledge and benefit sharing mechanisms. Social value, I am giving you one example. The degraded fallow land of the forest are donated to landless people, landless families. They adopt traditional technology, mulching, gully plugging, soil conservation, counter bonding to renew the fertility and convert it to a cultivable land. Similarly, the degraded village forests are renewed by collecting planting materials from forest, and villagers, they donate their collective labor for renewing these medicinal plants in the village. This is one of the brightest example of India of ex situ conservation. The landscapes have been classified in different sectors. They have identified themselves with sacred lakes, sacred groves, sacred forests, sacred mountains, sacred rivers. And they have also developed knowledge, traditional knowledge for proper utilization of these sacred landscapes for conservation. And these landscapes provide space for application of traditional knowledge and evaluation and enforcement of customary laws. Next. This is matrix of endogenous development. The endogenous development is based on these four components. They are cosmovision, socio-cultural and spiritual values, code of conducts, rule for practice of these conducts. They have specified these are orally held, not codified, not documented. These are transmitted from one generation to another and enforced to customary institutions. And these components constitute the base for endogenous development of this community. Next. Now the situation has changed. The forces of globalization have opened pathways for multinational companies into those areas. Very big mining projects by multinational companies have been launched in the tribal territories. The globalization has brought about infirmity, cultural and biological infirmity. The ceremonies have been commercialized and commodified. Good services and knowledges have been commodified and commercialized. There is massive tree felling, and these people have lost their rights to their traditional territories because they own collectively the knowledge, collectively the traditional territories. They do hunting collectively, do farming collectively. So their collective consciousness have been broken down. They have been exposed to a great cultural shock. This is a very serious question, and in here the tribal women, they are showcasing their protest. They want to preserve their culture. They don't want to displace. They have been displaced in large scale. They are living in colonies. Instead of full partner of natural resource program, they have been working as laborers, workers. They have made refugee on their own land. The traditional practice of collective organic farming has been displaced by dumping of chemical fertilizers and certified seeds. The entire scenario has been changed. It is a great question to protect their indigenous human rights. This is I am classifying the impact of globalization, commodification of goods and services, entry of big players into traditional territories, homogenization of people and communities, linking the local community into larger economic and political system. This is a very cross-cultural exposure. This is a great threat to traditional territory. Then the breakdown of common property system. Common property system has been breakdown and converted into individual ownership. The traditional knowledge on use of medicinal plants have been commercialized, and biopiracy activities have been multiplied under the name of bioprospecting. This is a great challenge. The medicinal plant has been entered into larger scale trade. The small towns have been converted into a hub of collection and supply chain. The users who are earlier, traditional users who are earlier collecting non-timber forest produce, they are now working as agents for multinational companies. This is very rich habitat have been destroyed and overexploited. I have already pointed out these are the liberation of market unit, great threat, biopiracy, bioprospecting, commercialization of local knowledge, commodification of goods and services, cross-cultural exposure, informality in culture and biological resources. These are great threats. But one thing I would like to share with you, I don't want to mention the name of the countries. At the international scenario, there is a big politics. The developed countries, they always talk about conservation, but they have never seen conservation. They never bother about people who are custodian of natural resources. They are technologically advanced, but they never transfer the technology to grassroots, and they never spend money on conservation projects in developing countries. And this is a great concern. I am quite happy that your university is partnering development with indigenous community across the globe. It is really, I must appreciate your efforts. It is a great achievement for us. This is, you see, this local market, how it is, because you see these are all previously working as NTFP collectors. They are now working as agent of traders. They are now collecting and gathering huge bags of all rich herbal plants, for export. A cadre of collection network have been created, and these people are working as their agent. and extensive trade relation has been made and linked with urbanization and technological change. Next. Biopiracy is a great threat to biodiversity conservation by indigenous community in India. This greenery will go away because a lot of biopiracy activities continuing, taking advantage of loopholes of government policy. There is no strict regulatory mechanism to control biopiracy. In India, as per law, a medicinal plant, there is no transit pass are issued to traders in the name of NTFP, non-forest, non-timber forest produce. And under that, these people, they take pass and they collect a large amount of quantity of medicinal plants and smuggle out from the country. Next. And small towns, every year, the Muslim growth was herbal trade counters have been promoted. This is not a good sign. Internal, they have also taken loopholes of law. Government of India has enacted two laws, Forest Right Act and PESA Act, empowered the tribal communities. What happens? As per that law, those who have settled in forest, they will be entitled to get title of that forest land. The petty politicians, they are taking bribe from outsiders. They have allowed them to construct house, huts, and convert this forest land as homestead land. Then the multiple ownership has been converted to individual ownership. This is a great threat to biodiversity. We have undertaken a study, and these photographs have been taken by my cell phone. What are missing? There is a great missing link. The policymakers and environmental activists, they acknowledge. Policymakers and bureaucrats, they never recognize forest dwelling community as a custodian of biocultural heritage. They never understand their issues, and they impose top-down model of economic development. They never talk of conservation. They always talk about economic development, cultivation of medicinal plant, starting bioprospecting activity, pharmaceutical company. They talk about that. They never prioritize conservation. Then there is a poor understanding of indigenous model of biodiversity conservation and sustainability. Nobody has taken care to understand these protocols. Then very poor attempt has been taken to involve the local communities as real custodian of natural resources. They are always treated as beneficiaries and workers, not as full partners. This is really an unfortunate thing. And instead of developing package for equal partnership, the multinational companies, after displacement, they plan package for rehabilitation package, resettlement package, and that is approved by the government and court of law. This is most unfortunate. This is a serious threat to fundamental rights of indigenous communities. And commercializing tangible and intangible resources, that genetic resources as well as their knowledge have been commercialized without paying them remuneration. Adequate benefits have been mechanism missing. It is there in their customary law and biocultural heritage, but it is missing here. And the most unfortunate thing is to displace them from their own territory and rendering them refugee on their land. Nobody has understood this. With support of UNDP, who have made experiment in 25 villages for renewing their biocultural heritage and enforcement of customary rules and developing their biodiversity resources. These are some of the we have involved community as the partner of the project. They have identified their issues to participatory planning, and funding support has been given to local Gram Panchayat, local body, their groups to implement the activities what they work. This is some of the photographs. This is land leveling, bonding, and this is well, and this is water harvesting structure, and made by the community themselves. Next. This is participatory planning. The peer exercise and focus group discussion organized men and women separately to draw their inputs for participatory planning for conservation and economic development. Good agricultural practice. In this, their traditional knowledge of developing biofertilizer, compost, mulching, these have been adopted and renewed by all the villagers for promoting agricultural diversity and good agricultural practice. The degraded forest of the village have been converted into medicinal plant forest, and it is best example of ex situ conservation. The villagers, they have contributed voluntary labor for collecting medicinal plants from the forest and planting on the degraded land. So 25 villages, they have their own medicinal plant forest as per their choice. They are free to select the plants they want to be planted in the forest, and this is a great achievement. And here the researchers from the university, they are going and they are making an evaluation study what type of genetic resources have been promoted by community for. This is an example of promoting village level nursery. They have been trained how to promote nursery of medicinal plants and distribute among villagers from home herbal garden. And this is a one example. I have a question for all of you to answer. I have shared with you the traditional model of biodiversity conservation, which incorporates all protocols, all agenda of CBD, sustainability, benefit sharing mechanism, and sustainable development. And culture is taken as fourth pillar of development in all sustainable development program: economic development, environment development, social development, and cultural development. You have to decide what model is suitable for indigenous development, that macro model or a micro model, traditional model, which is the best. It is a very Herculean question to answer. So you are the most distinguished scientists, scholars of this best country of the world. You can answer and suggest me. Okay? Thank you very much for giving me opportunity.
We've left plenty of time for questions. And Dr. Shukla, for some reason, is making his escape.